Welcome back to another week of college football. We are into week 6 of the college football season, which I think is mathematically halfway through the season, which is both exciting, but hopefully this thing slows down at some point, maybe. Week 5 for myself was a week to forget about. I went 3-9 last week, which drops me to 28-34. Turner went 5-4 last week. He just told me he still can't believe that he placed in the top couple of our group spreads, but I was in, I think I was dead last week, which, oof, it was not a pretty sight to see. So let's get right into it. Once again, we're going to give some our top favorites. We'll give you a best bet. We will have a super dog, which again is +4 or more underdog, and they have to win outright. And we'll give you an over under, which mine I've gone back and forth multiple times. I almost switched it, and then I just convinced myself not to. Some bonuses and a few stay away games, and I started the week with quite a few stay away games, and I actually convinced myself of one, but there's still three that I'm definitely gonna keep my distance from. Again, convinced myself of one, almost convinced myself of another, but I just cannot get to the point with another one. So with that, I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to take Illinois -9.5 against Purdue. I know Purdue kind of put up a fight with Notre Dame, but I think Illinois, they had kind of a stumble with Indiana, but Indiana's a really good football team in the Big Ten, and I think they kind of burst on the scene last year, and we've kind of been waiting to see if Indiana's still for real, and I think they might be better than they were last year. So I'm going to take Illinois -9.5 against Purdue. I'm going to go Louisville. I got Louisville. Sorry, I'm hesitating because I switched a few on my sheet, so I have to look at our sheet on Google Sheets. But I'm going to take Louisville -6.5 against Virginia. This is going to be a really interesting ACC game. I think everyone knows Virginia took down Florida State last week, but I think that was a massive trap game for Florida State, as they have Miami this week, and obviously they were supposed to beat Virginia and were unable to do that. So it'll be interesting to see what Virginia looks like against Louisville. I think Louisville's a good team. I don't think Louisville's as good as Florida State, but I am going to take Louisville -6.5 against Virginia. My goofy one of the week. I hope this hits. It'd be fantastic if this hit. I'm going to take Kent State +45.5 against Oklahoma. Um, I mean, this is absolutely fantastic. Oklahoma, obviously, without John Mateer, but they also have Red River next week. So this is a game where I mean, I think they're going to put up plenty of points against Kent State. I don't know if Kent State will score, but I wouldn't call it a trap game. I just think Oklahoma's going to go up by plenty and then kind of just coast to the finish line, not get any guys hurt, as they have the Texas Longhorns on the horizon. So give me Kent State +45.5 against the Sooners. And I'm going to go to Alabama. I'm going to take Alabama -10.5 against Vanderbilt. This one makes me nervous because I want to see what Diego looks like, but everyone knows Bama went into Nashville and lost to Vanderbilt last year, and I think Alabama has a sour taste in their mouth. We will see how real Alabama is. I think Alabama found out some things about themselves against Georgia last week. So I think 10.5 is a pretty big number for the spread, but I still think Alabama can backdoor this at the end of the game. I think Diego will find a way to keep this game competitive and close, but I think at the end, Bama will cover the 10.5. So, Turner, what you got for this week?
I'm going to kick it off with, speaking of the Red River Shootout, I'm going on the other side there with the Texas Longhorns. We all know that I love the burnt orange, and boy, do they hate to cover the spread when I pick them. But Arch Manning versus DJ Lagway, I just feel like Arch is going to outduel him. I don't think DJ Lagway is going to even throw a touchdown pass this week against that Texas secondary with Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill in his face the whole game. Give me Texas -4.5. Then, speaking of Florida State, give me Carson Beck. I was never a fan of him at Georgia, but you watch him right now with Miami as receivers who can catch the football. Give me Miami all day long. They have a good running game. They have good QB play, good receivers. And I just think Florida State's reeling right now. I don't trust Castellanos. He looks a little banged up. Deuce Robinson lost all faith from me with his beautiful drop in overtime. And speaking of goofy spreads, I didn't go Kent State route, although, boy, are you making me question my picks, especially if a MAC team is favored to lose by that much. But give me the Boise State Broncos. I know they got killed by USF, but man, plus 20.5 versus Notre Dame, who has not looked great this year. I gotta pick Maddox Madsen and the Boise State Broncos. And then my last one, give me Texas Tech minus 11.5 versus Houston. I'm not sure if Baron Morton is even back from injury yet, but Texas Tech weirdly has a defense. They can run the ball. They're throwing the ball well. I'm taking Texas Tech minus 11.5.
All right, moving into some over-unders. Anybody who knows me in over-unders, even in basketball season, over-unders drive me crazy because you're kind of relying on both teams to cover something at the same time. I honestly like team totals more than over-unders, but give me Texas, Florida, under 42. I do not think Florida, Florida might put up 10, 12 out of a touchdown and a field goal or a chain link of field goals. I don't see Florida scoring on Texas's defense. I think Arch and the Texas offense can find a rhythm, maybe put some points up, but I don't think they can get to this number, 42. So give me Texas, Florida. I don't think I could ever see myself saying this, but after obviously Texas's offense have stumbled a little bit, and Florida's offense is non-existent, and Legway has just been horrific. So give me under 42. Turner.
This was a tough one for me to pick. Now that Brian Ferentz is no longer with us, I unfortunately can't just hammer the under for Iowa every week. So I decided to go a little fun, and I said a service academy battle. Give me Navy Air Force over 49.5. I know that traditionally when the service academies play, it's a low-scoring game. You have the triple option, usually going just terribly for both sides. But let's be fun with it. Give me the over 49.5. I think both teams can score 25 points. I don't see why it's not going to happen. Give me the over.
All right, Super Dog. I actually had this one. I struggled to find a reliable underdog here. I like a few teams, but I don't think they can win. I think they can definitely cover the spread, but I don't think they can win. I started with Wyoming. I think it was +4 because they have a night game and weird things happen in Laramie at night. But I don't think they can beat UNLV. I have not watched either team very much, but just looking at their schedules and who they've played, who they've competed with, I don't see them beating UNLV. So I'm going to go Maryland +6.5 against Washington. Maryland could be kind of sneaky in the Big Ten. Obviously, geographically, Washington is having to travel across the country for this game. I know Washington is kind of an underrated Big Ten team this year. I did not get to watch too much of their game against Ohio State, but it looked like Ohio State took care of business there. So give me the Terps to win outright +6.5 against the Huskies on Saturday. Turner.
I do have to piggyback on that quickly, but I believe most teams that are traveling 2+ time zones are losing in the Big Ten. So as much as I would love to switch, there's just the fact that I cannot stand the Texas A&M Aggies, and I know they're going to slip up eventually. So I'm telling you right now, every week, I'm picking the team that's faced them. Give me those Mississippi State Bulldogs +16.5. A&M, I know you well enough to know that you're going to blow it eventually. It's just a matter of when, and I'm hoping it's this week. I think it's Blake Shapen at QB. Just watch him air it out. Watch him throw it. Marcel Reed, we all know you're an A&M QB who's going to blow it eventually. Give me the Bulldogs. Hail State, more cowbell.
Could see it happening. They're sneaky. They've been so bad for several years, and now they're just average or slightly below average, and they're going to surprise somebody. All right, some bonuses. Give me Clemson -13.5 against UNC. As horrendous as Clemson has looked in every direction, I think this is a get right, let it loose, see everything kind of game to, again, opportunity to put some points up against UNC. Give me Memphis -20.5 against Tulsa. Tulsa is not very good, and Memphis kind of has their own little path if they keep chugging along into that group of 5 spot for the playoffs. So give me the Tigers -20.5 against Tulsa. That's a lot of points, but I think they could work their way into it. This one's from my dad. Give me Troy -1.5 against South Alabama. Give me some Fun Belt action, and give me the Georgia Bulldogs. I don't want to say this is a get-right spot because obviously they had a close one with Bama last week, but give me the Georgia Bulldogs -20.5 against Kentucky. And I moved this game from my stay away into my bonus. Give me Penn State minus 26.5 against UCLA. Makes me real nervous as Turner shakes his head. I know it's a cross country, but I think Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon are still the top three in the Big Ten. I know Penn State can never win a close game at the end to save their lives, but UCLA is horrendous. They are so bad. They're going to be playing in the Rose Bowl in front of 12 people. And I saw a stat, or I heard a stat on a podcast this week, that UCLA has yet to be leading a game this year, which they are a Big Ten team, and I believe they played 3 non-conference games, and they have yet to be leading a football game this year. So give me the Nittany Lions to run it up and get back on the high horse against UCLA. Turner, some bonus picks.
I mean, first and foremost, I mean, Andy Kotelnicki, we love you. I hope you listen to this. Big fan. I remember when we sat and watched film together, but I'm rooting for you, buddy. I feel silly because all my intrigue games have already kind of been talked about. I mean, I have Wyoming plus 3.5 versus UNLV. I think Dash Bauman is going to come into this game as a linebacker. Shout out to him. Follows me on Instagram. I'm a big fan of his. And he's just going to tear it up this week. At Illinois, minus 9.5. I don't think Purdue's going to compete. And I have the Ohio Bobcats, minus 14.5 versus Ball State. Ball State's not very good. Ohio looks like they are the team to beat in the MAC this year. I'm going Bobcats all the way, especially if it's 14.5 points. Just go with the green. Go Ohio. Not the Buckeyes ever. Go Bobcats.
All right, a few games I'm staying away from. 3 of them that I wrote down and literally wrote stay away from on Monday, and it hasn't changed a bit. Iowa State plus 1.5 against Cincinnati. Cincinnati is like not a great team, but they're just good enough to beat a couple teams on their schedule this year. Iowa State obviously is supposed to be pretty solid this year. Plus 1.5 really caught me by surprise because I figured Iowa State would be a favorite in that game, even though I believe it's at Cincinnati, but there are injuries left and right. So I am not going to trust the injury bug to help us out at all. So I am staying away. If I were to take one, I would love to take Iowa State, but the injury report scares the heck out of me. Texas Tech. This is another one that this is like a wake up on Saturday morning and decide, yep, we're taking this. Texas Tech minus 11.5 against Houston. I believe both these teams are 4-0, but they are two very, very different 4-0 teams based on who they've played and how they've beat teams. So I would take Texas Tech minus 11.5. Once again, probably one I'll take anyways on Saturday. I know Turner already mentioned Texas minus 6.5 against Florida. More so just interested to see what Texas's offense looks like. I know what Florida's offense is going to look like, non-existent. But I think Texas can cover that. I just have stayed away at this point. And those are my stay away games, as I already moved my Penn State game into the bonus pick. So, Turner, any stay away games for you this week?
Well, what's funny for me and for anyone who listens to this, speaking of the UCLA audience, my stay away actually contradict Kyler's intrigue. I think Clemson, North Carolina, you stay as far away from that game as possible. Dabo Swinney said, if you're tired of winning, you need to leave me alone. Well, Clemson, you are tired of winning, and you better get used to losing. Bill Belichick, wow, that experiment has failed. And honestly, I just don't even know which way that game's going to go. Clemson has looked terrible. North Carolina's looked bad. They look like the current Patriots. And that's a game I just would not pick. And then Kentucky, Georgia. I'm a little surprised with Kyler on this one. I mean, minus 20.5 for traditionally what has been the last few years a very bad football game. I believe the last couple of years it's been decided by one score, maybe two. Saying at least a 21-point win, I would stay away from Georgia pulling it off. But at the same time, I'm a little nervous that maybe they do pull it together offensively. I mean, their receivers still have a case of the drops. But, man, that is not a game that I would bet on, and certainly not a time where I'd say, hey, George is going to win this one. Because I think they do win, but by 3 touchdowns, I think that's a very tall task.
Best bets. I'm going to take Michigan minus 16.5 at the Big House against Wisconsin. Wisconsin is not a very good football team. I know they've had troubles with the quarterback position. I know I mentioned last week I was at the Wisconsin-Alabama game. I was not really the only thing that impressed me at the game was Alabama's pass passing on offense, but that's because they couldn't run the ball, so they had to pass. But I do think Michigan is going to be able to do whatever they need to do to win this. I think they cover the 16 and a half. The biggest thing I'm interested in is Wisconsin has, I think, the number 2 rush defense in the country. So we will see what Michigan's rush looks like and if Underwood can actually be a dual threat quarterback against a Wisconsin defense that likes to get after it in the rush defense. So give me Michigan at the Big House minus 16 and a half against the Badgers this week. Turner, best bet.
My theme this week is just betting against Kyler, apparently, because I saw a tweet that said this game is either going to be Diego Pavia's magnus opus or it's going to be a Bama 70-point win. And you know what? I'm going ride or die. The Vanderbilt Commodores do not lose by more than 10.5 points. Give me Vandy. Diego Pavia has talked so much smack. I think Bama's going to win. I think it's going to be like a 3-point game. I think this might be the best game ever between Vanderbilt and Bama, which is saying a lot because last year was great. But you watch Eli Stowers, possibly the best tight end in college football. You watch Pavia get out. You watch that read option. Do I think they can win? Probably not. Do I think it's going to be dang close? Absolutely, I do. Plus 10.5, give me Vandy all day long. A phrase that nobody would have said maybe 3 years ago.
I was going to say, when they announced Vandy and Alabama college game day, everyone's like, oh, if you would have told me this 5 years ago, I would have laughed in your face.
Brought a tear to my eye.
All right, that is week 6. Some big spreads. Obviously, a few smaller ones here and there, but I noticed a lot of big spreads even going through this on Monday. I literally jumped to staying away several of them before I even wrote down a few that I liked. So enjoy week 6 of college football. Let's learn a few more things about all these teams, and we will see you next week.